Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Shri Radha Madhava ki Jaya Antarashram Bhagavatam ki Jaya. So what are we speaking? What language do you understand? English or German? English. You also English. So we do English. Reading from Prabhupada's Lilamrita. It's not Lilamrita, sorry. From Prabhupada's Transcendental Diary. So yesterday we were reading about, anybody remembers what we were reading yesterday?
Yeah, we were reading about Ramanujacarya.
No, this is the Bhagavatam, but about Prabhupada.
About the snakes.
About the snakes, exactly, the charming, about the mantra, very good brain. Mantra, and Prabhupada says that Haridas Thakur chanted 3 lakhs of name, and Rupa Goswami chanted less because he was writing books. He chanted less. So now continuation. Prabhupada pointed out that because Ashwatthama knew the science of mantra, he did not have to manufacture his nuclear weapon in a laboratory by experimenting with various chemicals as modern scientists do. He simply touched water and chanted with full concentration. Again, comparing this with the potency of Mahamantra, he said, if you take it as a childish play, formality, then it will act, but it will take a long time. But if you do it properly, you'll be quickly successful. In one life, you'll be successful. You don't require to wait. My Guru Maharaj used to say, although this process is guaranteed, but don't wait for another life. Finish this business in this life. So Prabhupada said here that Ashwatthama did not need to experiment like we have as scientists nowadays to experiment to make how to make an atomic bomb or some big weapon, atomic weapon. Prabhupada said he knew the mantra, he would just chant the mantra, and he actually released this Brahmastra. It's amazing with the mantra. So this is the power of a mantra. And Prabhupada says, what to speak of Maha Mantra is even more important. It's a Maha Mantra, the greatest mantra we have. And Prabhupada says, if you chant, even if you neglectfully chant, you will get benefit. Even if it's like, it is said, even if you chant mantra as a joke, you will get benefit. Because sometimes when we go in Harinam, people said, especially the guys, the maybe 20, 22, 3 young guys, they come and they make fun of us. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And as a fun, they make a joke, but actually they get benefit. So everybody gets benefited. But Prabhupada said, if you don't take it seriously, it will take a long time. So better to be serious and finish this business of chanting, of this material body in this one life. So this is a good deal. Let's finish the business and we're done. Haribol. 20 more years. I mean, not much. 20, 30, you have a little more, both of you. You have another 50 to go, at least 60. We are a little older, we have a 20. And that's it. And then we are done. 20 years, this is nothing, 20 years. And then you are forever finished with this material world. This is a good deal, I think. So, because we have so much to speak yesterday, I was going a little bit over because there was so much about philosophy of Madhvacharya. I didn't speak much about Madhvacharya himself, a little bit about his life, but mostly I spoke about his defeating of Mayavada philosophy. This was his main activity. And today we'll speak about another great Acharya in our Vaishnava tradition, this is Ramanujacarya. Ramanujacarya is actually the first Acharya after Shankaracharya to speak against Mayavada philosophy. And he established, I was speak about him a little bit, but first we read this verse. Vaishnavera Madhya Rama Upasaka Sabha. Vaishnavera Madhya Rama Upasaka Sabha. Keha Tattvavadi Keha Haya Shri Vaishnava. Keha Tattvavadi Keha Haya Shri Vaishnava. Vaishnavera Madhya Rama Upasaka Sabha. Keha Tattvavadi Keha Haya Shri Vaishnava.
Vaishnavera Madhya Rama Upasaka Sava.
Vaishnavera Madhya Rama Upasaka Sabha.
Keha Tattvavadi Keha Haya Shri Vaishnava.
Keha Tattvavadi Keha Haya Shri Vaishnava.
Vaishnavera Madhya Rama Upasaka Sabha.
Vaishnavera Madhya Rama Upasaka Sava.
Keha Tattvavadi Keha Haya Shri Vaishnava.
Keha Tattvavadi Keha Haya Shri Vaishnava.
Vaishnavera Madhya Rama Upasaka Sabha.
Keha Tattvavadi Keha Haya Shri Vaishnava.
Vaishnavera Madhya Rama Upasaka Sabha.
Vaishnavera Madhya Rama Upasaka Sabha. Keha Tattvavadi Keha Haya Shri Vaishnava. Vaishnavera Madhya, amongst Vaishnavas. Rama Upasaka Sabha. All worshippers of Lord Sri Ramachandra.
All worshippers of Lord Sri Ramachandra.
Keha, someone. Tattvavadi, followers of Madhva Acharya.
Followers of Madhva.
Keha, someone. Haya is Shri Vaishnava. Devotees following in disciplic succession of Sri Ramanujacarya.
Devotees following the disciplic succession of Sri Ramanujacarya.
Translation. At the time, all the South Indian Vaishnavas were worshippers of Lord Ramachandra. Some were Tattvavadis and some were followers of Ramanuja Acharya. So we read yesterday the half of the purport. So we can read the rest of the purport now, beginning with in the book. In the book known as Adhyatma Ramayana, there are statements in chapters 12 to 15 about worshipping the deities of Sri Ramachandra and Sita. There it is stated that during Lord Ramachandra's time, there was a Brahmana who took a vow to fast until he saw Lord Ramachandra. Sometimes, due to business, Lord Ramachandra was absent from his capital for a full week and could not be seen by the citizens during that time. Because of his vow, the Brahmana could not take even a drop of water during that week. Later, after 8 or 9 days, when the Brahmana could see Lord Ramachandra personally, he would break his fast. Upon observing the Brahmana's rigid vow, Lord Sri Ramachandra ordered his younger brother Lakshman to deliver a pair of Sitarama deities to the Brahmana. The Brahmana received the deities from Sri Lakshmanji and worshipped them faithfully as long as he lived. At that time of his death, he delivered the deities to Sri Hanumanji, who for many years hung them around his neck and served them with all devotion. After many years, when Hanumanji departed on the hill known as Gandhamadana, he delivered the deities to Bhima Sena, one of the Pandavas, and Bhima Sena brought them to his palace, where he kept them very carefully. The last king of the Pandavas, Kshemakanta, worshipped the deities in that palace. Later, the same deities were kept in the custody of the king of Orissa known as Gajapatis. One of the acharyas known as Nara Haritirtha, who was in the disciplic succession of Madhva, received those deities from the king of Orissa. So this is an interesting story here, how because the verse speaks about Lord Chaitanya was going to South India, and he saw how so many devotees were worshipping Lord Ramachandra, and most of them coming from Ramanuja Sampradaya and Madhva Sampradaya. So this is interesting, and this is how it came to be, because ultimately Madhva Sampradaya worshipping supposed to worship Krishna, because they found, yesterday we were speaking, this big chunk of tilak, and the tilak broke, and inside was deity of Krishna. And Ramanuja Sampradaya, we will see today, is actually called Sri Sampradaya, coming from Sri Lakshmi Devi. Lakshmi Devi is a consort, eternal consort of Narayan. So this is their Ishta Devata is Lakshmi Narayan, not Rama and Sita. But somehow other, this deity of Ram and Sita and came in the hands of this devotee in the sampradaya of Madhva. And this is the description how. And what is interesting to me here is that these devotees are um, this devotee who was actually so much attached to see Lord Ramachandra every day in Ayodhya. If he would not see the Lord for one day, he could not eat, not drink, he would fast until the Lord came back. Then he would eat and drink again. So once Lord Ramachandra was not there for 7 or 8 even days. Prabhupada said even 9 days. So he did not eat and drink anything for 9 days, 7, 8, or 9 days. So when Lord Ramachandra heard this, naturally, the Lord is very compassionate towards his devotees. So he said, here is the deity of myself and Sita, and you can have this deity in your home. And in this way, you don't need to, fast. So this is the mercy. This is how I guess, original first deity of Rama, Sita, came to be. And so many other examples like this. We have an example of our own Sampradaya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Actually, one devotee was very much in separation from Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda expanded themselves. And he said, here, you can take this. This was, I think, Gauridas Pandit. You can take these deities and worship them as us. They're no different from us. So the devotee said, well, I'm not sure. The deities are the deities and you are you. It's a different thing. So then Lord Chaitanya said, no, it is not different. It's exactly the same. So then they started having kirtan, and suddenly the deities from the altar jumped in the audience, and they started having kirtan together. So there was a double Lord Chaitanya, double Lord Nityananda. So, and they start dancing, and devotees could not find the difference. Which are the deities, which are the original Gauranga Nityananda. So when kirtan is over, the deities went back to the altar, and this devotee understood, yes, there's no difference between the deity and the Lord. So this is the attitude of a devotee. The deity is not different from the Lord. And as we will see here in the future, what we will speak about Ramanujacarya, that he was very much concerned what the deity will say. Ramanujacarya would never go anywhere without the permission of the deity. He would not move from his hometown. He did not want to move unless the deity gave him permission. So these are the very high standards. We think, I can go to this place or I can go to that place, but he would not move. And we know even in our Sampradaya, in our ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada also spoke to the deities several times, or deities told him certain things. For example, when Srila Prabhupada was building this, at least they bought the land, they wanted to build a temple in Mumbai, Juhu Beach. Devotees, there was so much problem, legal problems, huge legal problems in India. This is a big problem. And devotee said, Prabhupada, let's just go, we'll buy some other land. We have money, we can buy some other land. Prabhupada says, no, I don't want to buy new land because I promise to Radha Rasa Bihari, the deities, I will build a temple here. So Prabhupada wanted to keep the promise to me. So this is also proof Prabhupada dealt with the deities as persons. Also, when Prabhupada, there was some situation, Prabhupada was in Los Angeles in 1975, and he said, I went in front of Rukmini Dwarkadish. This is where Radha and Krishna is called Rukmini Dwarkadish. He said, I asked him, why you brought me here and now you're kicking me back to India? Why? He was Prabhupada was complaining to the deities. And this is so many examples, of course. The deities are alive, the deities spoke. So here we have the deities actually direct expansion of themselves. We also have in the case of Ramanujacarya, at the very end of his life, when he was about to leave the body, the devotees were very much, crying in separation, and he would visit some small towns some places where he would go all the time. And devotees were very much suffering in separation. And he said, if you want, you can build the deity of me and worship this deity, and this will be the same as you worshiping me. Because this is such a strong, while reading life of Ramanujacharya, one can see how strong culture of worshiping the guru is. The guru is such a guru-disciple relationship is such an amazing relationship. So guru is taken, first of all, guru is a very qualified person. Sometimes, for this case of spreading the Krishna consciousness movement, sometimes in our society, maybe not the case, some guru even leave the movement. But in these cases, this is as I said about the Gurukula yesterday, I was speaking, they choose the best of the best of the best of the best, the most advanced. And this person is a guru, and he's undoubtedly the most qualified person. So Ramanujacharya was the most qualified person, we will see from his life. So when he said, out of mercy, not out of arrogance, you make a deity of myself and worship, it was not puffed up. Even Prabhupada said, you take my deity, make my deity, and put it in Vrindavan. He wanted his deity to be placed in Vrindavan. And we have on the altar Krishna Balaram, Radha and Gonitai, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and Prabhupada's Murti. And Prabhupada's Murti on the altar, on the Vyasasam in the temple room. So every morning, Prabhupada wanted to worship Prabhupada himself. So this is a very significant, not because of Prabhupada's arrogance, but because, first of all, devotees make extraordinary fast spiritual progress by worshiping the Guru. Worshiping Guru is the skyrocketing straight to Goloka Vrindavan. And second of all, worshiping the Guru also, when we worship the Guru, we are worshiping, why are we worshiping the Guru? So there's a philosophy behind it. So both these things, we get the mercy. From him, ecstatic prema emanates, the song is saying. By him, ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scripture here is saying of his character, our spiritual master is Yosha the mercy, the friend of the poor, and Lord of the master of devotees. O Master, be merciful to us, give us the shade of your lotus feet. What is it, the first line? The lotus feet of our spiritual master is the only way in which you can attain pure devotional service. This is the heavy statement. Shri Guru Charana Padma, Kevala Bhakat, Kevala is only, there's no other, meaning excluding everything else. So we cannot, as someone once said, we cannot elbow our way back to God. You know what elbow means? I'm elbowing. You go sometimes to the temple in India and you have to elbow your way to somehow see the deities. But to the spiritual world, we don't need to elbow. Only Kevala Bhakat, Shri Guru Charana Padma. It's just lotus, we fix ourselves, we worship the lotus feet of the Guru. And this is the only way by which you can attain pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. By Guru's grace. This is important. So, worshipping Prabhupada, not only, as Prabhupada says, not only fruit and flowers, we offer flower, but actually we have to follow his shiksha, follow his instructions. And this is actually the best way to worship the Guru. As Prabhupada said, there are two ways to worship the Guru. One is Vani, and one is Vapu. Vapu is the worshipping of person. As devotees were massaging Prabhupada or cook for him personally, this is very nice. But the Prabhupada says the real worship is actually Vani, following the instructions. And we see there's so many devotees who have never met Prabhupada. Even Prabhupada disciples, initiated by Prabhupada, met Prabhupada once or twice, or never met him even. I know a devotee in America, never met Prabhupada. But he's so much dedicated to Prabhupada. So Vani is the most important. And this is the way to make progress. So in the same way, Ramanuja, he instructed devotees, you worship my murti and you will become advanced. Then they made another murti of him because devotees saw we can make murti. And then he blew his air, his life air in the murti, and murti became, how do you say, authorized, installed. So this was for me, this is the one thing. There's several things that are very standing out. I read the whole life of Ramanujacarya, and this is the one thing of the few that stands out. How important is the worshiping the Guru? How important. For them, everything was worshiping the Guru. And those who were most dedicated to Guru, they became most advanced. Let me read the last also paragraph. It may be noted that these particular deities of Rama and Sita have been worshipped from the time of King Ikshvaku. Indeed, they were worshipped by the royal princes even before the appearance of Lord Ramachandra. Later, during Lord Ramachandra's presence, the deities were worshipped by Lakshman. It is said that just 3 months before his disappearance, Sri Madhvacharya received those deities and installed them in the Udupi temple. Since then, the deities have been worshipped by the Madhvacharya Sampradaya at that monastery. As far as the Sri Vaishnavas are concerned, beginning with Ramanujacarya, they also worship the deities of Sitaram. Sitaram deities have also been worshipped in Tirupati and other places. From the Sri Ramanuja Sampradaya, there is another branch known as Ramanandi or Ramat, and the followers of that branch also worship deities of Sitaram very rigidly. The Ramanuja Sampradaya Vaishnavas prefer the worship of Lord Ramachandra to that of Radha and Krishna. So this last sentence, the Ramanuja Sampradaya prefers the worship of Lord Ramachandra to Radha Krishna, means that each Sampradaya have their own flavor. As I mentioned this before, flavor also means Ishta Devata, the worshipable deity. Our worshipable deity is Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan, Goloka Vrindavan, and Ramanuja Sampradaya, as we see here, Sitaram or Lakshmi Narayan. So this is their worshipable deity. So that does not mean in Prabhupada's, even in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna's Kaviraj says that worshiping of Radha and Krishna is higher than worshiping of Lord Narayan only for the sake of comparison. Because in reality, there is no higher and lower in the spiritual world. If someone is worshiping Lakshmi Narayan, someone is worshiping Sitaram, someone is worshiping Radha Krishna, it's essentially the same. There's no difference. Krishna's Kaviraj said, there is difference only because for the sake of comparison. That's all. Otherwise, there's no difference. Why? Because it is an absolute world. The absolute world is the spiritual world, and the material laws don't make any sense there. They don't exist in it. So the spiritual world, everything is full of bliss, everything is eternal, and everything is full of knowledge. So if somebody worships Lakshmi Narayan, is absolutely fulfilled spiritually, so fulfilled that he doesn't need to worship something higher. In the material world, we have a concept of higher and lower, better and worse, and therefore we have all these sports, for example. What is the sport? Sport is the thing that somebody wants to show that he's better than you. This is sport, basically. Sport, sport, football, basketball, athletics. What is athletics? Bunch of people run, and who's going to be the first to prove who is better. And then the number one is get a gold medal, and number four gets nothing. So this is the material world. In spiritual world, everybody gets a golden medal. Everybody, because it's an absolute world. And nobody thinks, if number four, for example, I don't know, football, and then 2 minutes before the end of the game, some kicks the ball, and instead of inside of the goal, he hits the pole, and ball goes out. And then after that, there was, oh, he missed a chance. They could have win the game, and he's so sorry. His whole life, he's sorry. They missed the chance in a World Cup championship and this and that. But because we think in the material world, I could reach the highest somehow, but somehow I didn't. There's always this wanting and need, and this is the reason why we stay in the material world, because this is called Trishna Krishna. Sorry, um, Maya. Do you have it? Trishna means thirst. So Krishna Trishna means one who has a thirst for Krishna. But in material world we have Maya Trishna. We have a taste, this thirst for Maya, for more. I can get more. I can get better. And the spiritual world is totally the opposite. People are so satisfied because they're fully, properly situated in Sacinandana state, which is eternity, bliss, and knowledge, and everything is wonderful. So one who worships Lakshmi Narayan, he's very satisfied. He doesn't think like, oh, this worshipping Krishna is better than me. I'll go there. There's no such thing. So this is what it is. Ramanuja Sampradaya Vaishnavas prefer the worship of Lord Ramachandra to that of Radha Krishna. They just prefer it. It's a different taste. It's a different preference. And therefore, we revere, or how do you say, we honor all the Vaishnavas because they actually worship in Vishnu. Vishnu or Krishna, Prabhupada says many times. Vishnu or Krishna, interchangeable. It's no difference in reality. And also, that's why Prabhupada also many times said that we should read Srimad Bhagavatam from the first canto to the 10th canto, not immediately jump to the 10th canto, read about the gopis, because this is the highest. And he said, actually, there is no difference reading about the Vishnus, reading about different incarnations, and reading about gopis. So that's like an introduction. So now we want to speak about the Ramanujacarya. The Ramanujacarya is an amazing, just like all the acharyas, like Madhvacharya yesterday, we spoke how he was an amazing personality with amazing physical strength. Madhvacharya he wrestled a tiger. The tiger attacked his devotees once, and Madhva came and slapped tiger a few times and get lost. And tiger ran away. Madhva was a super strong, physically very strong. I told you this, there was the biggest wrestler, the strongest wrestler in India at that time. He said, I've heard that you are very strong, Madhvacharya. And Madhvacharya, he said, I want to wrestle you. And Madhvacharya, no, don't wrestle me. He said, he put his toe of his foot in the sand. And he said, just take my leg out of the sand. And the wrestler tried his best and he couldn't take his leg out of the sand. So Madhva said, well, because Madhvacharya is actually is considered incarnation. He himself said he's incarnation of Vayu, the demigod of air, the Pranavayu. And this meaning is very, very strong. The other incarnations are Bhimasena and Hanuman. These are the incarnations. Actually, some said that Madhvacharya, Bhimasena, and Hanuman are the three incarnations of Vayu. Very, very strong, physically strong. So Madhvacharya, besides the physical strength, also possesses unlimited intellectual strength. He could argue with anybody. He defeated many Mayavadis, particularly, and so on and so forth. So Ramanujacharya also is a very extraordinary personality. Ramanujacharya, many times his name is mentioned as Yati Raj. Yati means sannyasi, and Raj means the king. He was the king of all sannyasis. He took sannyas when he was 30, some says 2, some says 8, so 38, in mid 30s. He took sannyas when he was mid 30s, and he lived to be 120 years old. So 80, almost 80, whatever, something years sannyasi. So during his life, he established 74 centers, 74 temples he established of worshiping of Sri Sampradaya for the service of Sri Vaishnavas. And he had many thousands of followers. Actually, thousands of the followers cannot be numbered because he had, they said, many thousands of Grihastha followers, many thousands. And besides them, he had 700 sannyasi disciples. I mean, 700. Prabhupada had how many? Maybe 30, 20, maybe sannyas disciples. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, I think he had 18 sannyas disciples. Ramanujacharya had 700 sannyasis. And he had how many brahmacharis? Anybody guess? 12,000. 12,000 brahmacharis and 300 Keti Amas. This is the Keti Ama in I guess this is Telugu. I don't know what language they speak there. Tamil there, huh? These are the ladies who have taken vows of renunciation, meaning like brahmacharis. 300 full time. I mean, this is a huge army of serious devotees, very serious devotees. I was reading, there's the one disciple who became disciple of Ramanujacharya. Actually, I will tell you later, but anyways, Ramanujacharya asked him to write a book. He was 80 years old, he was a sannyasi. He wrote a book, I forgot the name, Yati Samucha, something like this, 3 names. I actually found this book online and I read it, I read some part of it. And it describes how a sannyasi should be, how the proper conduct of a sannyasi. Man, there's so many different rules and regulations, It's like we have these are the real sadhana bhaktis, the real sadhana people. Like we have, okay, we take a bath in the morning, big deal, there a whole thing, you have to chant this mantra. If this happens, you have to chant it. If you come from this place, how much should you fast? How much should you not fast? So many details. And all supported by the Shastras. Amazing. So these were the super heavy, extraordinary, advanced, controlled people, not ordinary. All these sannyasis, brahmacharis, and all this. So, a little bit about, not a little bit, I will speak mostly about, I will not speak much about his philosophy, Ramanujacharya's philosophy, because yesterday was a philosophical day. But today we'll speak about the life of Ramanuja, just the glorification of Ramanujacharya, and I'll make a few comments. And on the end, when just before he left the body, he gave some instructions, and we can read some instructions about, interesting also for us as Vaishnavas. So, Ramanujacharya was born in Kanchi, Vishnu Kanchi. This is a South India. This is near Chennai, I think, isn't it? Near Chennai. And so from the very young age, he was very attracted to one great sadhu called Kanchi Purna, and he was very attracted to him. The only problem at that time, or even now, this Kanchipurna came from the Shudra family. But Ramanuja did not care at all. He worshipped him always. He always was interested in him to hear what he said. Because this Kanchipurnam actually was known to be speaking to the deities, to the Vishnu deity. So, anyways, this was the beginning. So then Ramanuja became he was a very intelligent boy from a very young age, and he went to the school, Sanskrit school, and school of Yadava Prakash. Yadava Prakash was his guru, and very good school, and so on and so forth. So one day they were reading some text of because the Yadava Prakash, as I said the last time also yesterday, most of the India at that time was influenced by the Advaita philosophy, by Advaita, Shankaracharya's philosophy of monism, that everything is one. We spoke about this yesterday. So Ramanuja, went to this school, and this guru was also influenced by this. Everybody was. This was the school at that time. They were reading Sharira Kabashya, I think, and this commentary of Shankaracharya to the Vedanta Sutra. And then there was the one verse that it says, Kapi, I don't know exactly, I don't have here actually Sanskrit, but the translation was that this guru translated that the Vishnu, the face of Lord Vishnu, is like the Kapi, the butt of the monkey. And Ramanuja, because Ramanuja was a very gentle person, he was not like Madhvacharya was not, he was very sometimes heavy. We see he was even fighting with his guru at the very age 12 when he took sannyas. And Ramanujacarya, he was massaging, when the guru was reading this, he was massaging his guru's feet, and he suddenly started crying. And he was still massaging the feet. And then the guru said, he saw something's wrong. He said, what is the problem? He said, well, you cannot, you call in the Lord's face as a monkey's backside. This is not appropriate. And the guru became very angry. How do you know? You're just a child. You know better than our Shankaracharya? You think you know better? Okay, if you know better, you tell us your explanation in front of the whole classroom. And Ramanuja actually gave the explanation. This kapi actually means the sun. If you add some previous, I'm not a Sanskrit scholar. If you add something that, and you can actually interpret it as a sun, as a rising sun. So the Lord's face is as bright, as illuminated as the rising of the sun. And there was a very logical explanation. Some students thought, wow, amazing. And the guru thought, wow, amazing. But in himself, he was very envious. He was very frightened. Which is interesting that Mayavadis, they speak about, merging into one. Nothing matters because everything is illusion. Vivartavada, we spoke yesterday about illusion. But in reality, they are also full of anger and full of envy. So what is your illusion? What was your, like I say, equality in vision? So he became very angry at him. And he devised a plan. I want to kill my student. Imagine, you're so envious. They want to kill your student, who was, I think, he was like 13, 14, some very young boy. You want to kill a young boy only because of the philosophy, ideology. So it's important to know how important philosophy is in one's life. For example, nobody knows our philosophy. In the material world, nobody knows. They think we are Hare Krishnas, we are dancing in these clothes, Hare Krishna. Nobody takes us seriously. But if people would know our philosophy, if some people would start following our philosophy, I'm sure there'll be many demoniac people coming to attack us. Because we are standing everything against what they stand for. No intoxication. There's a whole alcohol industry, we're against it. The whole tobacco industry, we're against it. The coffee industry, this is like a huge, powerful force. These people have millions and millions of euros. So this is what happened. Ramanuja challenged the very existence of this guru, that Shankaracharya is wrong. Oh. So he was thinking, I'm going to kill this child. So he devised a plan how to kill Ramanuja. He said, we are going to pilgrimage to Ganga. It will take 1 month or 2 months to go to see Ganga, from South India to Ganga. And they made a plan, like a I call this school trip. Nowadays they have school trip for 1 week, but that time school trip for 2 months. Vijay Garanga Dali Takija. So they took all the kids from the school, and the guru told all the other disciples, "I want to kill Ramanuja, but just don't tell him. Tonight, while on the pretext something, he wants to give him poison to drink, and then we'll kill him, and then when we go to Ganga, we'll bathe, and we will purify our sins from killing a Brahman." This is such an amazing thing. So this is the seventh offense when we are reciting every day, which is Pegay Nummer 7. Genau. He thought we can actually kill him and take bath in Ganga and all will be purified. No problem. So this is the cheapness of his realization. So the problem was that the Govinda, the cousin of Ramanujacarya, heard that somehow. He was also there in the forest and he heard it. So he came to Ramanuja and told him, run immediately, they want to kill you. So Ramanuja just ran into the forest. He was running into the forest in the night. Jaya, Shri Vijay Garanga Dharmita ki Jaya. That's okay. Jai, Jai, Jai. Hare Krishna. So, what's it with Govinda? Anyways, I think Govinda together they ran. And they were running in the forest, and oh no, he was alone. He was alone, running in the forest, and a child running in the forest, and he doesn't even know where to. And then suddenly, just before the sun completely set, he met a hunting couple, hunter and his wife, and he was like a little bit afraid, And they said, "What are you going?" And the Ramanuja explained to them, and he said, "I'm just going home." This and that. I said, "No worry. I mean, you can come with us." So they went all night. They guided him, and they lit the fire. They made a camp. Everything in the morning. They said goodbye and they left. And then when he was leaving, he realized this was actually Lakshmi and Narayan themselves. They took the form of the hunter and they saved him to don't be killed. So this was an amazing thing. So he went back home. So his mother was like super happy. "Ooh, my son is back. What happened? Why did you come so early?" And so he told her the story, and then she was shocked. How is it with guru? Guru, the spiritual teacher, wants to kill the disciple. This is too much. So then when the guru, but he said, don't tell anybody. So when the guru came back, guru pretended, "Oh, we lost you in the forest. My heart was beating. I could not find you. We were missing you." And so very duplicitous person, interesting enough. Anyway, so while he was going through the forest, actually, interestingly enough, Ramanuja, he prayed this one, he was offering this one prayer. Namo Brahmanya Devaya, Go Brahmanya Hitaya Chagatitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo. We know all of this prayer, but this is Ramanuja recited this prayer while going through the forest. So, this is the one thing. Second thing is there was another instance that there was some girl, she was possessed by ghosts, and she was speaking nonsense and crazy, and this Yadava Prakash, this teacher. But interestingly enough, Ramanuja actually went back to school. He pretended that nothing happened. Just for me, how gentle Ramanuja was. Very, very gentle person. He would never be like harsh or angry or just very gentle. And he even went back to the person who wanted to kill him. And then this girl was possessed by ghosts. And Yadav Prakash, the teacher, he was known in the area as a ghostbuster. He knew how to get rid of the ghosts. So he would go to this girl because this girl was the sister of the king, very important person. Yadav Prakash went and he did all these things. And the girl still didn't do anything. So the ghost appeared to Yadav and he said, I'm not going to go away from you. He said, you don't have any power. But if you bring Ramanuja, then I will go away. So he brought Ramanuja, and because of Ramanuja, she was cured. And then Ramanuja instantly became super famous in the area. You know, young, smart boy, cured the ghost, the sister of the king. You know, amazing thing. So that's another instance. I'll just speak some instances from his life. Then another thing is Ramanuja wanted to take initiation from Kanchipurna because he was very attracted by him, and he said, "I want to take initiation from him." And Kanchipurna said, "That cannot be. I'm a Shudra. Because I'm a Shudra and I'm an ignorant man, and you are coming from Brahmana family. This is impossible." You know, in the society at that time, the Brahmana takes his initiation from Shudra. It's actually, you are Brahmana, I'm your master, I'm your servant. As a Shudra are the servants of the higher caste of the Brahmanas. I'm actually your servant. And Ramanuja, of course, didn't buy it at all. He said, no, you are the most advanced. And so he kept on, you know, how do you say, worshiping or meditating on him. Yeah. Oh, this is something I actually didn't completely forgot. To know about Ramanujacarya, you have to know about Yamunacharya because it's very connected. These two are very connected. Yamunacharya is this previous Acharya before Ramanujacarya. He was an Acharya in Sri Ranga Kshetra. And because he was there, Acharya, he was the first one actually to kind of establish the worship of these alvars. One of the first devotees actually to preach the personalism. Because before that, there were some alvars, they wrote these devotional poems, 12 alvars, made 12 mystics, you could say, of South India. And there was a book about 12 alvars, and they're all very extraordinary personalities, one even woman, by the way. Very amazing people, devotees who actually glorified the Lord. So Yamunacharya became you can say the leader. He established the Sampradaya, Sri Sampradaya. So Ramanuja just took over from him, basically. This is how Ramanuja became prominent. So Yamunacharya was a very smart boy, we can say. And he had a guru, and his guru was very, intelligent. And so one day, I think his guru, what happened? Um, is that the guru of Yamunacharya was not there. As another famous debater from the king's court came and he said, I heard your guru is very smart and I want to defeat him. You are nothing. He offended his guru. So Yamuna, he was 12 years old. He became very, very offended. He said, no. He said, why don't you debate me if you're such a great debater? And he was laughing. Ha, who are you? You're a 12 years old boy. Because at that time, he had this rule. If somebody debates him, if you lose debate, you become his servant or he even kills you. It was very heavy stuff. And Yamuna said, okay, why don't you debate me? So they did not accept it. He said, because you're afraid. Yamuna was also a little bit edgy. And so in the end, they agreed. So his guru said, why did you agree to this? They will kill you. And he said, it doesn't matter. I want to serve my guru. So he went there to the court. They brought 100 people to carry him with the pomp because it's a big thing, debate at that time. Like we have a TV stations, whatever, music, carnivals. That time, this was the main thing, debating. So Yamuna went there, and it's just a long story. Yamuna asked him three questions, and he couldn't answer all three. And Yamuna actually supported from the Shastras, from Manu Samhita. One of the questions is that he said, you have to defeat me if I give you a statement. And my statement is that the wife of a king is barren. Barren means no, she has no children. Barren means the one who cannot have children. Although, but she had one child. So he said, defeat this. And he couldn't defeat it. He didn't understand how can I defeat this. So he quoted from Manu Samhita that actually consider if a woman has only one child, it's considered as she has no children. This is Manu Samhita's statement. But and there was three statements like this. The second statement was that the wife of a king is not chaste. And he said, how can I say this? The king will kill me, No, sorry. So he said, the wife of a king is chaste. Can you defeat this? And the Guruji said, how can I defeat it? If I said that she's not chaste, the king will kill me. So I have to say that she's. So he said, I don't know. So he again quoted from Manusmriti that the king is actually representative of all the demigods of he 8 different demigods are representing the king. So he said, actually, your wife is not married to you alone; she's married to the all other 8 also. In that sense, she's not chaste. And the queen was very, very happy to hear this. Anyways, 3 questions, and Yamuna defeated him. And the king promised, if this boy defeats you, I will give this boy half of my kingdom. So the boy immediately, when he was 12 years old, he got half of the kingdom. And he became a ruler, a very good ruler, and so on and so forth. But the problem was that he became attached, as we all we get some material opulence. It's easy to speak, to be renounced when we don't have things. If somebody suddenly imagine somebody gives you $10 million now, 10 million euros. You said goodbye, Hare Krishna temple. I have some other plans in my life. I had this one situation. We had one boy once, and he was hippie kind of background, and he said, "Oh, everything material. I'm not interested in anything material. This is all Maya." He was just coming to. He was not living in the temple. He was just coming to the temple, a couple of weeks or something new, and he was always criticizing Babylon. Babylon. And he said, Maya, this is Babylon, all these sinful things, and I'm not interested. I'm not interested in any of this and this and that. And then one day, what happened? Some of his relatives died, and they left him some inheritance, and he inherited not much, $25,000 or 27,000, something, not so much. And he came and he said, I inherited 27,000. I will give it to the temple because we are planning to maybe buy some land to build a temple. And so I will give it all to the temple. It's all Maya, all Babylon. I don't need anything. And that was the last time I saw him. And then no, we did not see him anymore. Never came back. And maybe like 3 months later, he came back. He bought a new Wohnmobil. He bought a new bicycle. He had a new girlfriend. And I said, what happened to your Babylon thing? He said, well, I always wanted one bicycle and always wanted to have a mobile to live inside and travel. And meanwhile, he also got a girlfriend. And I said, what happened to your donation? He said, well, I think I will use it for myself. So this was a very interesting lesson for me and for all of us, that we are detached as much as we don't have. If we would all be rich and opulent, I don't know if we would be so big-hearted and give everything to Krishna. Maybe, maybe not. But we see the more the rich person is, the less they are eager to give. They're like, ah, sometimes I was once in one town in northern England, and there was just a few years ago. We had this program, and many, respected gentlemen came, some rich, obviously. He was dressed as a very nice clothes, and he came to this box, fundy box, and I just heard, bang. He put one coin. One coin. Of course, it's going to his eternal benefit. But one coin, really? One coin. And all these people are driving BMWs, big Mercedes cars, and he puts one coin for Krishna. So it's difficult because it's very painful. Actually, just recently, one devotee gave me, he got my book, my small book, and he gave me, how much he gave me? 20 euros. You know. And he said, you have no idea how much it pains my heart to give you this 20 euros. Oh, 10 euros, 10 euros. That was very funny. For 10, he said, difficult to give. So it's difficult for people to give. So, but we should understand we have to actually give to Krishna. Otherwise, we will keep it, and this will carry us to our next life. Anyways, to come to this, Yamuna became very attached to the kingdom. Man, it's closer to 9. Anyways, Yamuna at that time was very attached to opulence, and his father was actually his father was taking sannyas. So his father was thinking, man, my son, he was living in the forest. So my son is very attached to all these opulences. I have to get him out of this. His father was very concerned that he doesn't become a materialist. So he sent one of his followers. He said, go and convince him to stop this. So that this disciple of his father went, and how do you go in the kingdom? How can you speak to the king? You cannot just go and say, I want to speak to the king. It's not so easy. So he devised a plan. He went to the kitchen and he cooked every day some very special plants from the forest. He was very good in the forest plants. And these plants gave him intelligence, gave him strength. So every day he would eat. The king would like, wow, this is very good. So he would eat, and he saw the difference in himself. And one day he did not cook. So the king said, where are the plants? These wonderful plants. Before, I like to eat them every day. And I said, well, the cook didn't come. He said, who is the cook bringing? So then, next day the cook came, and of course he was not a cook. He was a sadhu. So he came and he said, finally I got your audience. He tricked him. And he said, finally I got your audience. Actually, I'm the messenger of your father. Your father wants you to give this all up and become a sadhu, take sannyas. And somehow, by the influence of this devotee, he actually gave up this kingdom away. This is something, he gave up the kingdom away, he became a sannyasi. And of course, because he had a good karma and he was very educated, very smart, so very soon he became leader of the devotees in Sri Ranga Kshetra, and he became famous as Yamunacharya. So once Yamunacharya was going to this country and he saw from a distance Ramanuja, and he was so impressed by his radiance that he composed a poem about Ramanujacarya, glorifying the Vaishnavas, the power of the Vaishnavas. So he was always thinking about Ramanujacarya. So when his time was about to die, he was also very old, also 100 something, very old. And he was laying in, not laying in deathbed, but he was about to die. And he said, I want my next successor to be Ramanuja. And so he said, go and go to Kanchi and bring Ramanuja here to Sri Rangam, and we can do the Ubegabe, the transition. So devotee went to find Ramanuja, and interestingly enough, because Ramanuja knew the glories of Yamuna. Yamunacharya was the most famous devotee. He wrote many poems, many nice work, devotional books. Um, and Ramanuja was going to somewhere to the market or something. And as soon as this devotee said, Yamuna wants to see you, he immediately left. He didn't want to go home. He said, I don't want to waste any time. When the guru is calling, I will go immediately. So he just left everything. You know. This is like Ramanuja he was no nonsense. He was just a serious, very serious devotee. So they were going to Sri Ranga Kshetra and they found, as soon as they arrived, they found the Yamunacharya died. Oh, and he was like, oh, I missed him. You know, he missed him. So, of course, everybody was crying, and Ramanuja also, and he said, how did I miss such a great soul? And then the body was laying down, and then he had the three fingers, or like this, maybe. Three fingers, usually is a, Yamunacharya always had his fingers, or like this, clenched or something like this when he was dying. But then when Ramanuja came, he had the three fingers like this, straightened. So everybody saws, what is this three fingers? Maybe he wanted to tell us something. So Ramanuja, he said he wanted you to be the next Acharya. So Ramanuja said, I on this very, the body where Yamunacharya lays, I promise, this is the three unfulfilled desires of Yamunacharya. One is to preach message of the personalism all over India. This was the one. And he said, as soon as he says this, one finger was pink less. One finger came back like this. And so this was the first message, Yamunacharya. Second message was that he wanted to write a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. And he said, I will write a commentary on Vedanta Sutra. Then another finger, it's pink. And then one last is that he wanted to name, he said, I want to name one of my disciples, when I have disciples, Parashara, because somehow Yamunacharya got the great mercy of Parashara Muni. And he said, and as soon as in the glories of Parashara Muni, to name one disciple Parashara, and then he did like this. Third. So these are the three vows Ramanuja gave, and he of course fulfilled them all three. Later on, he wrote commentary on Vedanta Sutra called Sri Bhashya. It's apparently a very nice commentary. And he preached all over India. He established apparently many centers, so that he could spread this movement all over India, at least. And now we have it all over the world. Even here are some temples of Sri Sampradaya. Everywhere. There's one devotee actually in Berlin. He's coming from Sri Sampradaya. I should actually go there. They invited us. There is some kind of Hindu temple, and he's coming from Sri Sampradaya. So this is the importance. The Yamunacharya gave this mercy to Ramanujacarya. So Ramanujacarya could become later on Ramanujacarya. So he went back to Kanchi, Ramanuja, because he did not get permission from the deities to leave. He is not going anywhere. And plus he was married. He was still married. His wife, as I said, very, very beautiful. They came from Brahmana family. The one problem his wife had with Ramanuja is that he was worshipping this Kanchipurna. Kanchipurna was a Shudra coming from Shudra family, although he was very advanced. So she did not like this because she thought she comes from the higher caste. So what happened is, once Ramanuja wanted to really eat Mahaprasadam of Kanchipurna. So he invited him for lunch. And said, come for lunch. And usually, when you eat lunch, there's some remnants. And he consider eating the remnants of Kanchipurna would be the perfection of my life. But somehow or other, Ramanuja could not be at home. So Kanchipurnam came earlier, something like this. He could not come later. So she cooked for him, the wife of the Ramanuja, and fed him. And after he ate, she took the remnants and gave it to the Shudras, because Brahmanas do not eat remnants of the Shudras. And she washed the place to purify the place from the Shudra's presence. So Ramanuja came back and he said, where is the Mahaprasadam? And she said, well, I gave it to the shooters. And he was so offended. How could you? How could you? This is a pure devotee, pure devotee. You know, you're giving Mahaprasad away. So he was very despondent with this. So another also instance happened with his wife. It's not to vilify his wife, but just this is their relationship. She was very much strict, you can say, follower of Varnashram Dharma. And while Ramanuja was actually, you can say, beyond Varnashram Dharma, understanding that this is all material destination, Shudra, Brahmana, Vaishya, and Kshatriya. And there was a person who came, actually, the devotees from Sri Ranga Kshetra after Yamunacharya passed, they sent devotee to give initiation to Ramanuja, to initiate him in the Sampradaya so he can become a child. So he came and he gave him initiation. There was a big pomp. There was a big, initiation. He got initiation finally. And the initiation also consisted of brandy, branding. We know when a cow, you put this metal thing, and then you put like, huh? Do you know? Brand, not brand, branding. Branding with the ing and then, huh? Burning, yeah. You put in the fire,
Yeah.
and you put.
Yeah, that's during initiation.
Yes. Brandmark is not touch. You have with the cows, they do the cows. This
Yeah.
they put it. So they put here conch and shanka and chakra. They on the show. This is the initiation in the Ramanuja Sampradaya. Nowadays that, but this they did this shanka and chakra you have in your shoulder. So he gave initiation to Ramanuja. Ramanuja became the member of Shiv Sampradaya. Finally, so he could actually, and then, well, this guru was there with his wife. This is also interesting that most of the gurus were actually householders, Sampradaya. So he was with his wife there. What happened? Because this I think Mahapurna, whatever I forgot his name. He was coming from lower caste also. Then also coming from maybe Vaishya, or lower caste, or maybe Shudra even. So once the wife of Ramanujacharya were fetching water from the well, and the wife of the other guru was there, and somehow this other woman took the bucket, and from her water drops into the bucket of Ramanuja's wife, and she became very angry. How dare you? You spoiled, you contaminated me. Now I'm a Brahmana, you're coming from lower caste. And she became so angry at her, and the wife started crying. And when wife started crying, then the man had to do something about it. So they left. This just left. So Ramanuja came back. They said, "What happened? My guru has left." And she said, "Well, this is what happened." And Ramanuja was very not happy about this. So this all influenced Ramanuja. This is my point. Slowly to consider that he should take sannyas. And also because he was called by the devotees, and he understood what does that mean, that sannyas. If he wants to be the leader of all the Sri Vaishnavas, he has to be a sannyasi. So he left. He went. His wife went home to her parents, and he left. He went to Sriranga Kshetra and took sannyas. And as soon as he took sannyas, there was hundreds and thousands of people going to take initiation from him. And he immediately became the shiny luminary of Sri Sampradaya. So let's see, we have only 5 minutes left. We are at the very beginning of Ramanuja's life. Oh, let's see where we're going to be. So, anyways, I took sannyas. Let's see what can I to cut this a little bit. So, anyways, basically, Ramanuja just started traveling around and he started defeating so many scholars, many scholars. He defeated this big scholar, Yagyamurti, who was actually, they were arguing 7 days and nights, arguing, philosophical argument, and nobody could win. And then Ramanuja at the end said, he went to the front of the deities and he prayed to the deities. He said, unless you help me, I cannot win this argument. And the next morning, this other person who was arguing, he was a Vedantist, he was a Mayavadi impersonalist. He somehow had a change of heart and he came to Ramanuja and he said, actually, you are right. You are such a saintly person, I should become your disciple, just like in movies. So he became his big disciple. And there's so many other. And then one day, his teacher, Yadava Prakash, his aunt came and she said, I think Yadava Prakash should become your disciple. And he said, how can he become my disciple? He was my spiritual teacher in the school. And she said, yeah, I know he wanted to kill you and everything, but I think you should give initiation. So she went to Yadava Prakash and he started preaching to him. You should take initiation with Ramanuja. And he said, how can he? He's a child. He was. But anyway, she convinced him. So he went to Ramanujacarya. And of course, he did not immediately agree, but they had an argument about, again, philosophical argument, personalism versus impersonalism. And Ramanuja defeated him, and then he finally accepted it. Yes, you are right. You actually, I should surrender to you. He surrendered and asked to be initiated. And he was initiated, and Ramanuja gave him sannyas immediately. And he told him, as an atonement, because you wanted to kill me, you have to write a book. And this is the book he wrote. He was 80 years old at that time. So he was a great scholar, well known. So Ramanuja basically converted many amazing personalities. He also was very much interested in, these are the few places that he was going. South India, this was he established big temples. He went to Sri Kshetra. It was already a temple there. There's also this description of how the Sri Kshetra was built, 7 walls and all these things, but we don't want to talk about this. And he would go to Tirupati, Sri Shaila. How do you say Shaila? Sri Shaila. The Tirupati, this is the place where the Venkateshwara resides. So Ramanujacharya was very fond of this place. He said this. One day, they came to a verse which described the holy Dham of Sri Shaila, which is known as Tirupati. And this is the verse. This Sri Shaila is like Vaikuntha on earth. One who spends his life in that holy place does not live does in truth live in Vaikuntha. Meaning you don't live in this material world. At the end of his life, he will attain the lotus feet of Narayana. So this was the verse they read. And Ramanuja said, who among my disciples is willing to go there and to make garlands and worship the deities every day, the rest of your life? And one disciple said, I want to go to worship Lord Srinivas. Disciple Anantacharya. He said, I will go to this sacred hill. And Yatiraj said, you are indeed blessed. And by your devotion, you have delivered 14 generations of your ancestors. Wow. Just by going there and worshiping the deity and making garlands. So that's like amazing blessing. So he was very fond of these places. And then once later on, he would visit that place, but he didn't want to go upstairs by foot. Nowadays we have buses. You can take a bus. When I went there some 2007 or 8 to Tirupati, and I didn't want to take a bus. How can I take a bus? All these pilgrims, they go, because it's a climbing the hill. It takes what, 2 hours? Or how long it takes? 3.5 hours. 3.5 hours going constantly uphill. So I didn't want to, you can take the bus. I said, I don't want to take a bus. It's not appropriate. So I walked, I remember. We walked 3.5 hours to have a darshan of Venkateshwara, Srinivas Govinda. And the Ramanujacharya went there and on the foot of the hill, he said, I cannot go. Because this actually hill is considered not different from Venkateshwar. So he said, how can I step on the feet on my feet to put on the Lord's head? So the devotee said, so everybody was standing there, and these disciples said, we also not going because Guru is not going. So then at the end they said, okay, that somehow convinced him because you are a pure devotee and this and that, and for the sake of others. So he decided, okay. So in one story, he walked up there. In another story, he did not want to walk with the foot, he walked on his knees. You know the story? He walked on the knees. Imagine 3.5 hours with foot, how long it takes to go on the knees. Probably a day or 2 days, maybe. Because it is said that on halfway, when they arrived halfway there, the priest came from the temple. He heard Ramanuja's there. So the priest came and he brought Mahaprasadam because they were hungry. They were like, it probably took them, a day or two, maybe, who knows. So this was the devotion of Ramanujacarya. So, there's so many nice stories. I will just read for the end. This Quraysh story is an amazing story. This king was Shiva king. He was very envious of Ramanujacharya, and he wanted to kill him. Of course, if anybody's envious, immediately wants to kill. And so the king was approaching, and Ramanuja was about to get captured by the king's soldiers because Ramanuja did not accept Shiva as to be the supreme, but he accepted Vishnu as supreme. So then his disciple Quraysh said, you know what? Take my clothes, white dhoti, and I will take your sannyas, and I will pretend that I am Ramanuja. And you can just run through the forest. So Ramanuja and another disciple ran through the forest wearing white, while Quraysh and another disciple went and he said, I'm Ramanuja. So the king came, arrested them, and he said, you should accept that Shiva is the supreme. And Quraysh, as a so-called Ramanuja, said, no, Vishnu is the supreme. He quoted from so many Shastras. Quraysh was one of the most educated disciples of Ramanujacharya. He knew all the Shastras. So the king said, well, I will kill you now. So he not just killed him, but he tortured him and he plucked his eyes. So he lost his eyes for the sake of his guru. Anyways, this is another devotional thing, and he said, I'm happy because I served my guru. Of course, at the end, Lord restored his eyes at the very end of his life. This is a different story. So many stealing jewelry, so many nice, actually wonderful stories of Ramanuja. Aditi spoke to him too many times, and okay, last instruction. We just read it's 5 minutes, but we just read last instruction. So number 1, worship all Vaishnavas as you worship your Guru. So this is a very interesting, sometimes we say, oh, Guru Dev, but the other Vaishnavas like, there are some Vaishnavas. But worship all the Vaishnavas as your Guru. Then, have faith in the previous acharyas and never be controlled by the senses. Never be satisfied simply by worldly knowledge. Study the scriptures that describe the glories of the Supreme Lord. Actually, there's so many instructions which I'm not going to. Not going to. It's too late. But anyways, he departed 1137, so 1137 AD, meaning this was 12th century. He departed, and few days later, this Govinda became also his disciple. His nephew, he also died. So that was the short life of Ramanujacharya. This amazing personality. You can read, I don't know exactly the name of the book, but Life of Ramanuja. And it's a very amazing story. It's a very amazing life, an amazing to me, as a main thing, as I said, how serious he was, how he was such a serious person. Because before he wanted to preach, he actually had the 5 gurus, by the way. This is another very interesting point. 5 gurus. Because one guru was initiating him, but the other gurus were Shiksha gurus, equally good gurus. So 5 gurus. And each guru was teaching him something. And before he started preaching, traveling to preach, he wanted to become so well versed in Shastra. He wanted to find Bodhayana Bhashya or something like this. Bodhayana Bhashya, I forgot the name of the book. But this book describes, this was at that time, there was not many Vaishnava books. This book defeats the Mayavadi arguments from the Vedanta Sutra. So he wanted to study this book, he couldn't find this book, and he went all the way to Kashmir, all the way to the north of India. It took them several months just to go there. There was only one book available. And, how serious he was to learn the Shastra, to learn the arguments against the Mayavada, because this was his mission. So I thought from this we can take it seriously, how actually it's important to worship the Guru, important to follow Guru's instructions, and important to arm ourselves with the knowledge, with devotion, so we can actually preach Krishna consciousness. Shri Ramanujacarya ki Jaya.
Yes, Sacinandana. His grace.